Welcome back to the Archive Network. Aurelius here with Malik, curators of the Treaty Archive. We left Concordat of Worms last time, yet even as the delegates left Worms, one question hung in the air. Would both sides truly accept the terms? Could this fragile peace survive the pressures of politics and ambition? The world waited, holding its breath. Today we pick up where we left off. The fate of an empire, the independence of the Church, and the future of Europe all depend on what happens inside one negotiation room. Worms was chosen for its neutrality, a strategic decision. But inside those ancient walls, tension crackled like static in the air. Soldiers and townsfolk sensed history in the making, unaware of the monumental stakes unfolding just beyond their view.
But that's not just the point, Aurelius. It wasn't merely about choosing a neutral city. It was about the symbolism of Worms itself. The city represented a potential meeting ground for two powers, historically at odds. The atmosphere inside was charged with not just anticipation but fear. Fear that old grievances could resurface and derail any hope for peace.
Inside, the negotiation table became a battlefield of ideas, and the atmosphere was thick with tension. The stakes were immense. The authority to appoint bishops was central to both the Church and the Empire. For the papacy, it was a matter of spiritual sovereignty, a claim to divine right. For the emperor, it was about maintaining control over vast lands and ensuring loyalty among the nobility. We often forget that these battles shape the course of history, and the outcomes ripple through generations.
Exactly. But let's not forget the human cost. The papacy wasn't just defending spiritual sovereignty. It was protecting its very existence. Cardinal Lambert of Ostia understood the stakes intimately. He'd witnessed the devastation of the investiture controversy. It wasn't just politics. It was survival for the Church, an institution under threat from the very authority it sought to negotiate with.
True. And on the other side, Archbishop Adalbert of Mainz represented imperial interests. He was not merely a cleric. He was a seasoned political strategist. His task was to uphold the emperor's ancestral rights while maintaining a fragile balance. Each side understood that failure to negotiate could lead to fractures within the empire and unrest among the populace.
But what I find striking is how the negotiation table became a site of psychological warfare. Each side's representatives wielded arguments and historical claims as weapons. They didn't just clash over policies. They fought over the very narrative of authority and legitimacy. This wasn't just about bishops. It was about who defines power in Europe.
Memories of past humiliations haunted every discourse. Excommunications and rebellions loomed large, casting a long shadow over negotiations. Both sides understood the dire consequences that awaited them should they misstep. Proposals flew back and forth, each one more urgent than the last. Yet, the fear of making concessions was palpable, clinging to every representative like a shroud. Trust was a rare commodity, and with every exchanged word, it seemed further out of reach. This cycle of doubt is all too familiar.
And that fear is where the real danger lay. Rigid positions led to a stalemate, but the delegates were human. They were tired, anxious, and increasingly aware that this conflict could unravel them. They had to pivot. It was in that moment of desperation that Cardinal Lambert proposed a radical idea, separating spiritual and secular investiture.
A bold move, no doubt. Initially, it must have felt like a betrayal to both camps. The hardliners bristled at any suggestion of yielding ground, clinging to their positions like a drowning man to a raft. But Lambert's proposal was a lifeline in a storm. It offered a way out while still maintaining the core interests of both sides. It was, after all, an elegant solution to a complex dilemma, reminding us that even in turmoil, there's a path forward if we're willing to seek it.
Yet, Aurelius, we must acknowledge that this wasn't just a clever negotiation tactic. It was a desperate attempt to break free from the chains of historical conflict. The Church needed to assert its authority without imperial taint. The emperor sought control without appearing tyrannical. This compromise was not born out of generosity. It was born out of necessity.
True enough. As they edged toward a compromise, the atmosphere was thick with tension. Hardliners, ever vigilant, sensed weakness and threatened to pull their support at any moment. Advisors on both sides warned their leaders of the potential fallout. Yet patience and persistence, those virtues of true statesmen, prevailed. They knew this was a delicate dance, one that required skill and finesse. In the end, it was a testament to the resilience of those in power.
And ultimately it was this dance that led them to the Concordat of Worms. The document that emerged wasn't a victory but a compromise. The emperor renounced the right to invest bishops with spiritual symbols, while the church acknowledged the emperor's role in their temporal affairs. This agreement was a fragile peace, not a resounding triumph.
Yet even as the delegates departed Worms, one pressing question lingered in the air. Would both sides truly uphold the essence of their agreement? The answer would undeniably shape Europe's trajectory. Could this delicate peace withstand the relentless tides of politics and ambition? History teaches us that trust is often fleeting. Once again, the world held its breath, waiting to see if reason would prevail over power.
That's where we leave it this time. Concordat of Worms continues. The story isn't finished yet. Find the full series on the Treaty Archive, part of the Archive Network. We'll be back with the next chapter.